Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we've got some SAO for you guys. Not so much content, or I guess gameplay, more on the side of like optimization. But before we jump into that, if you're here, as always, my name is Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate to subscribe as we're going towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. SAO is something I've been grinding quite a bit, and while I totally know there's some people out there like, hey, can you make a leveling guide? I'm gonna get around to it. As you guys can see, I'm only player rank 58. I only started earnestly farming about 2 days ago. When I finish leveling, I'm gonna make a leveling guide. I know some people have made leveling guides earlier on. I mean, to each his their own. I kind of want to get the full experience, the entire process, while experiencing it myself before I provide that information to you guys. That way, if there are any nuances or anything along those lines, you can go ahead and have those conversations at that given time. However, when it comes down to the optimization side of things, some things are already starting to become very obvious. And one thing that you're going to find you are going to want to do as you're leveling is leveling specific characters for their passives. So in case you're not aware of what the passive skills or how that actually works out, every character has a single passive skill. And that's kind of one that they're essentially set to. Everyone's got their own passive. And at level 30, you can use their passive on other characters. Of course, you can always swap out their passive. Like, for example, I believe, is it on, let me check. I think it's Heathcliff. Yeah, Heathcliff, I don't use his passive. His passive is Immortal Armor, which gives me extra damage reduction whenever I'm below 25% HP. But I instead use Quietus and Conquer Weakness. Quietus giving me crit rate when enemies are stunned, frozen, or downed. And then, of course, Conquering Weakness giving me crit rate whenever I'm attacking a powerful enemy, which is an elite or a boss enemy. So passives are something that's important that you're going to want to keep an eye on while you're leveling. So you're going to want to level specific characters to get their passives, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go over everyone's passive today and talk about which passives I think are actually pretty useful and which ones are kind of, you can kind of leave them on the side. Granted, eventually you're probably going to want to level everyone to get, of course, all their outfits and all the cosmetics and things of that sort. But these are the characters that I would probably recommend leveling their passives first. Well, I say that now, but we're going to go over all the passives and then I will tell you what characters I recommend leveling their passives first. So hold on one second. Let me pop over to the spreadsheet and let's go over them. All right. So here's a spreadsheet that's been passed around on our Discord recently. If you guys aren't in the Discord, there should be a link in the video description to the Discord. Join us. That's where we post all of our SAO related stuff. Pretty fun stuff. It's not a full on SAO Discord. It's actually a lot of different games that we play. Mostly a PSO2 streamer, but of course, play some other stuff in the mix too. But we have our SAO section where we share different pieces of information, get groups together, so on and so forth. But either way, this was shared in that Discord, and getting a chance to take a look at it, it's got a lot of really, really helpful information. If you happen to be the person who originally made this spreadsheet or anything along those lines, feel free to DM me. I'm more than happy to offer extra citation or extra credit to the individuals that worked on this. Of course, they credit them here at the very beginning, first EN and JP. And of course, there's a Discord. You can go ahead and, of course, message in case you're looking to contribute to this. So what are we looking at today? So we're personally taking a look at, I want to say, is this it? Yep, here we go. The passives. So this is something that you'll pay attention to early on. Granted, yeah, later on it's going to make more of, it's going to matter more realistically. You're going to kind of tweak your passives based on your gear a bit more, but early on you want to start getting the leveling process done with. Granted, it'll probably be faster later on down the line, but also by that point you kind of want to be playing the characters you're looking to play, building up your sets, so on and so forth. So hopefully you get a chance to get these taken care of early on, especially while you're doing things like dailies, weeklies, and so on and so forth. So going over each passive, we'll start with Kirito. So Kirito has Damage Dealer. Gain attack of 20%, gain a 20% attack buff when the combo counter exceeds 20. Now, main effect is maintained as long as the combo continues. So as long as you're above 20, you get a 20% damage buff, which is pretty freaking solid. We also have Asuna. Asuna has high accuracy. So you gain 20% crit rate buff whenever you have a combo counter above 20. So as long as you're above 20, you get 20% crit rate. Pretty solid, pretty straightforward. Actually goes pretty well with Kirito's. Who would have thought? Next we have Shion's. Shion has Spirit Charge. So 50% chance to recover 3% HP when landing an attack on a weak point. Decent for sustain and good for ranged characters because you have access to weak points pretty consistently, but it's not amazing. It's only a 15% chance to recover 3% HP. When you aren't always gonna be hitting a weak point, that chance situation kind of sucks. I mean, you're gonna passively regen HP either from like the HP orbs on the field or from being healed by someone else on your team at this point. So I think it's kind of lame, a little weak, but it is something. Leaf has Flight Master, increases attack by 25% while jumping or in flight. So this is just a passive 25% damage buff as long as you're in the air. And honestly, most of the time you want to be attacking while you're in the air anyway, just because you're sitting above those attacks that kind of like ground pounds. So like those shockwave attacks, you're above them anyway, so it makes life a lot easier for you. So most of the time you're going to be flying or in the air in some way, shape, or form. And you can also like short hop and stay really close to the ground if you need to. So it's not really a big deal. So more or less it's just a flat 25% damage buff. Elizabeth. So Elizabeth has lightning counter. Unleashes a 25 or 95% of attack as electric damage. Has a 25% chance to stun around you when you execute a perfect dodge or a perfect guard. This kind of plays well into Elizabeth's gameplay on her own as it is, but it's not bad. Like it's okay, but they're better passives that you kind of want to pay more attention to. This feels a bit more niche, and I'm sure there's like a really crazy combination you probably put together with this, whether you're perfect guarding or perfect dodging through things. Maybe you're getting like a damage buff when you're perfect dodging through something and you're doing some damage. But again, it's very niche. It's specifically electric damage, so anything that is electric, like not immune, but electric resistance, not going to do well on. Unless something's electric weak, it's not going to do massive damage on, so just keep that in mind. Though it does scale because it's based off of your attack. That's pretty nice. Silica, mid-tier idol. I don't know why they gave her that's so rude. It increases the recovery amount of healing skills and healing crystals by 8%. If you're going for a healing build, sure, I guess, but I don't think it's really ever been necessary to increase your healing anymore, to be perfectly honest, so pretty mid. Yuki, Spirit of Determination. Increase attack by 20% when HP is less than 50%, and then increase attack to 40% when it's below 25%. Now, I actually kind of got this mixed up on stream. I was thinking, oh wait, is it like 60 because they stack? It specifically says increase to 40%. So it doesn't work that way. So as long as you're below 50%, you get 20% damage buff. If you're below 25%, you get a 50% damage buff. It's kind of rough if you're not playing as Yuki to maintain this passive, but there are accessories that will sacrifice your HP in exchange for more damage. So next we have Argo's passive. Argo has surprise attack, increases damage by 30% when attacking enemies from behind. This isn't that bad most of the time, but what you'll find is there are a lot of enemies, their weak spots are their face and their head, and you can't really attack them from behind while you're attacking their head all the time. So it's not as good as it looks, but it's all right. It'll get the job done. It's a decent enough passive that you can use as like a placeholder until you get something else. Klein. Klein's got one of the best passives in the game, along with like, Asuna and Kirito's, their passives being pretty good. Leafa's being really good. Klein's got a really good passive. So Klein's got guts. You increase your attack by 30% for 10 seconds after taking damage. Now, remember what I mentioned earlier, how Yuki's passive, you can use a ring to make it so you sacrifice some HP to deal more damage. Well, apparently you can do the same thing with Klein's passive. So if you have a ring that sacrifices HP to deal more damage, it will proc Klein's passive, which is awesome. So that, and he does have charge attacks where he kind of says sits there. You can take a hit and then do massive damage afterwards. Klein's passive is really, really strong. So super, super cool there. Agil, Iron Flesh, decreased damage taken by 20% when using advanced skills. I mean, it could be helpful to some people out there that are having some difficulty getting some advanced skills off. I don't know how many times I've seen people run into like one of the rooms in a co-op quest, like one of those final rooms, like where you have to channel the tower or activate the tower, and they run in. There's like 3 elites. They run in and try to do a skill, and they all get just mobbed and murdered. I've seen it happen multiple times. So if you're one of those people, maybe this will help you out a little bit. Len, Fire Convergence, increased crit rate of ranged attacks specifically. The closer the enemy gets, up to 12%. So good for Len, because she is usually a close range. She's a rogue technically, but she's a close ranged gun attacker. So good for her. But honestly, I feel like this is not as good in situations where like Len could very easily maintain the 20 combo counter for Asuna's buff. So I would probably run that personally, but that's just me. Fuka. So Fuka's is interesting. Now, I haven't personally tested this, so take this with a grain of salt. I've been told this is how it works, but Fuka's at extroverted. So it enhances yourself and your party members depending upon their gender. 1.5% attack per male, 1.5% HP per female. So if you have Fuka and 3 party members that, or I'm sorry, not technically you have to have Fuka, because granted you can use this on anyone else, but if you take this extroverted passive and you put it on another character, they have an entire party full of male characters. You can get, I think it's like 34% damage buff. So, or 34% attack buff, which is pretty wild. So good luck getting an entire party full of male characters in SAO. Unless you're kind of like with you and 4 friends, it's not really going to work out that way. But if you do have a party of 4 males, this is actually really strong. Alice, Osmanthus Boon, 5% chance to take 0 damage from an attack. It's kind of funny. People were like, yo, I'm pretty sure Alice's passive is why they made her a tank. This could have been given to literally anyone and it would have made 0 difference. Moving on to Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh has absolute 0, an 8% chance of freezing when hitting an enemy with an advanced skill. I thought his attacks just had a chance to freeze anyway. It's because of his passive apparently. So pretty solid. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's something. It works on everything that's not a boss. So we take those. Heathcliff has immortal armor, grants 30% damage reduction when HP is less than 25%. I mentioned this beforehand. Don't really care for this too much. You're not really gonna be that low on HP anyway. Maybe you're gonna do something crazy with like immortal armor plus like Yuki's passive, Spirit of Determination. So like you live below 25% HP, but you also have extra, defense while you're that low. So it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. It depends on how you play it. So Sturban, aka Death Gun, has Quietus. Quietus increases crit rate by 30% when attacking a stunned, frozen, or downed enemy. Pretty solid, since when you're fighting big bosses, you get them down pretty regularly. You're going for a weak spot, and that's 30% crit rate, which is really, really nice. Death Gun also has a stun himself. Allies have freeze like Yu-Gi-Oh, so it could be pretty useful. I found it to be a pretty useful passive. It's kind of like a placeholder, at least for now. So you slot on Quietus and kind of roll with it. However, you can get a lot of situations where there are other crit rate or ways to get crit rate, so this is less useful, especially since it's a bit niche. Yuna, healing songstress. Party members revive or receive more HP upon revival up to 80% of maximum HP. I mean, it's okay. It's defensive, so it's one of those situations you have to decide if you want a defensive passive. It might be useful in quests that might be a bit more difficult, but that's not amazing. I believe this stacks with Silica's passive, so like the healing amount, recovery stuff is counted alongside of this. I'm not 100% sure of that. Again, don't quote me on this. I have to test it. E.g. Conquering Weakness. This is one that I actually like a lot. So this is just solid 10% crit when attacking a powerful enemy. So whenever you're attacking a boss or an elite, which is mostly what you care about your damage on, this gives you an extra 10% crit. So if you need the crit rate, which most of us do, E.g.'s passive is very, very strong to have. So I would definitely recommend picking it up. Oberyn, Absorb Life. You recover 5% HP when you finish off an enemy. It's just some passive HP regen. It's okay. It's specific when you finish off an enemy, not when an enemy is killed near you. So that's also a problem technically, because you don't always get the last hit. Administrator. So Administrator has admin privileges. So every time she levels up, you get a random buff. And in quests where you don't level, so like if you're looking at a quest like free roam and things like that, or if you're in story mode and you're not leveling, you just get the effects randomly. So you could get really unlucky and get a bunch of defensive options. You can get a bunch of attack up, crit rate up, whatever it happens to be. But you just get these effects randomly without the awakening level stuff. And then Yui. Yui has support defense. Lengthens windows for perfect dodge and perfect guard by 60%. It's pretty noticeable for perfect dodge and perfect guard. In a lot of situations where you dodge through something, you don't see yourself hit the perfect dodge and the perfect guard stuff. However, with Yui's passive, it happens a lot more regularly, so it's pretty nice. Now, as far as characters I would recommend for the passives that I would grab. So I decided to do this on the character screen, so we'll do it from here. So I recommend definitely picking up Kirito and Asuna's for sure. Klein's is probably one of the best in the game, to be perfectly honest. From there, I would definitely recommend picking up E.G.'s. Yuki's could have some use as well. I imagine that's going to make a very powerful combination if you can keep it active. So definitely want to pick those two up. Death Guns is all right. It is a bit niche, I would say. I think it's pretty solid, but it's not anything that's super amazing. Fuka's, if you happen to have a group put together that can actually make use of it, is going to be very powerful. So it's probably gonna be worth to pick up Fuka's as well. We're skipping over all of these. The last one I think is worth grabbing is Lifa. Lifa's is gonna be nice because you are jumping and attacking a lot. So it's gonna be useful here. A lot of the characters that, are combo reliant for their passives, you don't always want to use, those passives on a character that doesn't have a high combo. For example, I probably wouldn't be using these two passives on a character like Heathcliff or Agil, who has a bit slower attacks. Definitely wouldn't be using on someone like Death Gun. But like on someone like Len, it's a pretty powerful choice. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to go over all the passives with you guys. I'll let you know that, hey, while you're leveling, while I'm working on leveling, here's the passives I'm looking at grabbing, as well as the passives you should probably also try to grab. Anyway, let me know if there's anything I missed in the comments below. Let me know what passives you guys have been going after, what characters you're leveling, and what you guys are enjoying while grinding in SAO. Either way, like if you enjoyed the video, so if you want to keep up with more. As always, thank you to the channel members. You guys are fantastic, and I appreciate every single one of you. Take care, my friends. Peace out.